Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Christopher Kraus, your Embraer Learning and Development Specialist, and we want to welcome you to our first webinar of 2021. Today's topic is remote wellness, uh, coping with anxiety. I'm going to introduce our special guest in just a minute, but first, a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure to mute your microphones and disable video. I think everyone's doing that, so that's good. Just to note that this session is being recorded. We're going to have it on Empower later on today so that people can either rewatch, or if you know anybody that was not able to attend today, you can let them know to go to Empower and watch this at a later time. We will have Q&A at the end of the presentation as always, so if you wouldn't mind, if you have questions, if you're thinking of something as we go through this information, jot the information down on a note and make sure to ask the question at the end of the session. And as always, we're going to have a post-session survey. We've got the QR code at the end of this session. I'd ask that you use the QR code, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear what you think about today's session, and we also want to hear what other topics you'd like to hear in the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker back again. I think we're saying 8th or 9th time now that we've been doing this. Joe DiMattis is here. He's our United Healthcare health coach. So welcome back, Joe.
All right, thank you, Chris. So like Chris said, Joe DiMattis, your health coach, very happy that we're able to continue business with you guys, continuing with your medical, dental, vision insurance in 2021. Still virtual due to the times. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, good New Year's. Eager to get back to the office whenever that is. But, the holidays along with the pandemic, brings us a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. So I felt that, stress and anxiety, although this is something that, we can talk about on a monthly basis because it's just something that we can't avoid and hide from. But it's good to understand these situations and what to do, be able to recognize the signs, symptoms, and learn where to go to get help. Quick reminder before we dive into the presentation, this is a new benefits year. So from January 1 through December 31st, remember, you can go on to myuhc.com and access your Rally Health Survey, earn your $125. And as a reminder, throughout the year, make an appointment to get your doctor visit. But I always tell people, do the survey at the beginning of the year. That way you have that $125 to pay for copays, prescriptions, any other medical expenses that you may have. All right, so let's dive in. All right. So during this presentation, we're going to look at an in-depth look at anxiety, but specifically, we're going to learn about anxiety, why we have it. We're going to be able to review the signs and symptoms of it, learn what we may do about our anxiety, how to recognize if we need help or not, because sometimes you don't always need professional help. You can handle some things on your own. Finally, we're going to review the United Healthcare resources available for your benefits plan. So why am I anxious? We all experience anxiety. Anxiety actually is a normal human experience. In fact, it may be potentially beneficial in anticipation of certain situations. Anxiety is the fear of unknown. The fear of unknown may motivate us to take certain steps or actions. Fear of the unknown may also prevent us from also taking action. So it can work both ways. That is what makes anxiety a motivator. Anxiety follows a spectrum from normal levels of anxiety to also clinical anxiety disorders. Physical symptoms of anxiety impacts every facet of our being. It alters our mood, our body's responses, our ability to focus, even sleep, believe it or not. The physical manifestation of anxiety touches every bodily system and organ, from our digestive tract to our skin. We may experience symptoms such as, and you see them listed here, shortness of breath, a racing heart, sweating, stomach discomfort, headaches, even muscle tension. We may also experience sleep disturbances such as you can't fall asleep or you can't stay asleep. You may have nightmares, you may have night sweats. These are all things that can happen from high amounts of anxiety. For our mental health, anxiety causes a spectrum of symptoms from passive symptoms to even aggressive symptoms. Some people may be withdrawn from, a distant, while others may easily retract with hair-triggered emotions, short-tempered. We may have feelings of edginess, unease, irritability is a particular common one. We may experience racing or intrusive thoughts, inability to concentrate, restlessness. We may even become emotionally withdrawn, shut down, or disconnected, and sometimes even numb. Some people may turn to an increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs as an unhealthy coping mechanism for anxiety. Obviously, these are things that we want to, avoid if possible. Moving into cognitive symptoms, we experience physical and mental symptoms with anxiety, but our worries and negative thoughts about what might happen in the future, those are the cognitive components of anxiety. Our thoughts may include negative ideas such as where are we going, such as where or why we're going to fail, being incapable, or that something isn't going to end well. In some of my past presentations, we talked about, not being so hard on yourself, using positive reinforcement, being around positive people, ways to increase our mood. Challenges with anxiety and stress. Now, remember, anxiety causes us to take action or do nothing. It can work both ways, for us and against us. These are the feelings and thought processes that may play into how we feel and our responses. Helplessness, the first one listed, that's the feeling that nothing can be done by anyone to make the situation better. People may actually accept that a threat is real, but that the threat may loom so large that they feel the situation is hopeless. Helplessness, that's a feeling, that's actually the first one, excuse me. That's the feeling that people that they have themselves, they no longer have power to control the situation or protect themselves. And they may physically or mentally withdraw. Hopelessness, you just feel that there's no hope, nothing that you can do. Denial refers to the act of refusing to acknowledge either imminent harm or harm that has already occurred. And denial can occur for a variety of reasons. People may not have received enough information to recognize a threat. They may assume that the situation is not as bad as it really is because they haven't heard the most recent warnings. They didn't understand what they were told, or they only heard part of the message. They may have received messages about a threat, but not received action messages on how or why people should respond to the threat. Think of like natural disasters, when we have hurricanes that are, that can potentially impact us. We may receive or understand messages, but we behave as if the danger is not as great as we're being told. For example, we may be getting tired of evacuating for threats that prove harmless, which may cause people to deny the seriousness of the future threats. And when people doubt that a threat is real, they may seek further confirmation. During an emergency, we act on the information differently from non-emergency situations. This is due in part to the fight or flight mechanism that may create a sense of panic. We talked about endorphins in some of my previous presentations. You got that flight or flight ways. I think we may have touched on this, when stress happens. Our human brain, responds identically to both real and unreal danger in flight or flight responses. This response is caused by a surge of adrenaline. Again, that's the feel-good chemicals in our brain that assist with either fighting or fleeing. Your heart rate and blood pressure increase. You become more alert. Your flight or flight response actually serves as a purpose that alerts us to potential harm. However, when the response is continually triggered, that area of the brain that elicits the fight or flight may become wired over time to automatically react, even when that threat isn't necessarily present. There's some common misconceptions about anxiety. A common misconception is that anxiety is a sign of personal weakness. And some of the other two, anxiety is not a real medical illness, and that people with anxiety might snap out of it if they wanted to. Those are all false. Those are all misconceptions about it. Once we can recognize the symptoms, we need to tackle the source of anxiety. Thinking about what makes you anxious is probably the first. In order to come up with a solution, we got to first identify the problem. What's causing us to feel anxious? Do we dread being around other people? Are we having fear that something will happen, to you or to a loved one? Are you concerned about a surge in workload? Are you concerned that you might disappoint somebody, putting unrealistic expectations on ourselves versus just focusing on the task at hand? Remember that positive reinforcement, always telling ourselves that we're good enough, and what we're doing is creating impact. So what can we do? Well, like I said just a minute ago, in order to come up with a solution, we have to identify the problem. We need to pick a starting point. It's natural to be concerned about why things happen. Being proactive can help relieve, some anxiety, allowing ourselves the ability to control what is within our control to help alleviate. Going easy on ourselves if we're experiencing more anxiety than usual, because remember, we're not alone in our struggles. Everybody experiences this at some point, if not daily, weekly or on a monthly basis, some more than others, depending on the obligations in our day-to-day life. Beginning by acknowledging our anxieties and worries. Sometimes writing down your specific worries can help. Taking a break, if you're feeling overwhelmed, focusing on your breath. We've done some breathing exercises in the past that can help reduce that cortisol level, that hormone that gets elevated, when we're stressed, when we have anxiety, and not getting hung up on being perfect, focusing on the things, that we can problem solve or change. Creating an action plan will help us when we need it the most. First we have to evaluate, what are our options? Which tools and resources do we have on hand that will help us address, our specific worries? We can focus on items that we can only control. Remember, we can't control things that's out of our hands. For example, if I'm worried about getting sick, I can wash my hands, I can use hand sanitizer, I can monitor my health for changes. I'll make sure that I'm adhering to, a healthy diet, following doctor's recommendations, maintaining a good positive exercise routine. Once you've completed, your action plan, it's pencil and paper. It's writing these things down, setting your plan aside, for future needs. And alternatively, if you need to use your plan for the present time, set it in motion. That last bullet point right there. So what can we do beyond our plan? Sometimes, anxiety, it's going to creep up on us, even though we're following our action plan, and during those occasions, we might be better served by focusing on ourselves and managing our symptoms. When you feel that your anxiety is going up, you might need to take, some quiet time, take some time to sit and stew about things, but also to divert your mind to something else. A timeout simply, is all you need sometimes. It can be used for anything, whether you take a brisk walk, read a book, take some quiet time to meditate, breathe. If you feel like you're being, blasted with news or feeling over compelled, to keep watching the news, like all these events that are going on, in our political aspects, then it might be time for a break. Practicing mindfulness techniques is a great way to stop racing and to get rid of some of those chaotic thoughts. Mindfulness in nature, mindfulness in breathing or exercises are, very simple to do. Nurturing your body may help you to be more in tune with controlling anxious symptoms. Exercise, as we've talked about before, if you've attended, the presentations on exercise, it's going to help raise those endorphins, which is our epinephrine and norepinephrine. Those are those feel-good chemicals in our body. That's going to help impact our mood. Eating healthier foods, can lessen, digestive issues. Alcohol may impair sleep cycles, and therefore it may be best to avoid alcohol during times of anxiety, although certainly one or two in moderation can help calm you down. Caffeine is a stimulant. It's not the thing that we necessarily need, when we're anxious, because it can help, increase our anxiety. And always maintaining a healthier sleep cycle, it's going to also help, protect your immune system. And it's also going to, make you more sharper, in the days to come. So how will I know if I need help? If your worries, fears, or anxiety attacks have become so great or excessive, they're causing extreme distress or disrupting your daily routine, then it might be time to seek professional help. And remember, you have EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, licensed psychologists, social workers. These are people that are trained, to handle, extreme issues of stress and anxiety. They can be beneficial. Anxiety disorders, these involve more than just normal and temporary, worry and fear that we have from time to time. This is when anxiety never goes away. And in fact, it may even get worse. The feelings of anxiety, that's, when they begin to interfere with everyday life, work, relationships, health, school, and everything else we do, then it can be a problem. And usually they say, healthcare professionals will say, if it lasts for more than 6 months or more, then it may be time to really seek medical attention. And then in terms of getting help, where to get started, here's some lists right here at the bottom, some excellent hotlines that you can refer to. EAP, the second one, I just spoke with a little bit ago. If you do find you need help, start with your primary care doctor or other healthcare professional first. Remember, these are people that are qualified. EAP has many resources. Again, you're working with a social worker, a licensed counselor, psychologist, and they can also help refer you to, other healthcare professionals, ones that really, really are, some of the best at what they do, when it comes to mental health issues and anxiety, stress. Don't forget, always speaking with family or friends. Local hospitals and other mental health organizations offer support groups. Again, contacting your insurance company for in-network referrals. You can reach out to me. You have myuhc.com where you can look for specialists in those areas. And then, you have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services. They provide free referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, even community-based organizations. So there's always help and ways that you can overcome things. You just got to be willing to reach out and utilize those resources. And in conclusion, anxiety, it's a general normal response to stressful situations. It can cause physical, mental, cognitive symptoms, but we have to be able to recognize these. Using defined strategies to manage our anxiety. And however, if anxiety causes extreme duress or interferes with our ability to function, then we should seek help. So that is all for today. Again, all those resources like EAP and things listed here, these should be available on ADP. Again, if not, you can always reach out to me. I can open up for any questions and answers. And in the meantime, as always, here's my contact information. I think most people have it, and then you could do the post-session survey, while we take questions if we have any.
Yeah, Joe, this is really good information. And I would love to be able to get that PowerPoint. I can PDF it and send it out to this group so that they have the information, even though I'm sure all that information is on the United Healthcare site, correct?
Correct, yeah. All on UHC, the handout should also be on ADP. But again, I can send you this PowerPoint, and any resources, you don't hesitate. I have everything on file here.
Oh, very good. So everyone, what questions do you have for Joe about coping with anxiety? Or any of the information he shared? You're welcome to just unmute yourself to ask a question, or if you prefer,
I've got chat log. Yeah.
Yep, I've got the chat open. We can watch through chat.
I think we're good on the questions.
Yeah, I think we've got no questions here, which is fine. Mm-hmm. So great. So everybody, if you would just take a minute to use this QR code and give us feedback on the session today. I'm also going to send out an email after this session. I'll have the PDF attached to that, but I will also have the link to the survey if the QR code doesn't work well for you. If you're not comfortable using the QR code, you can always click that link and give us the feedback. So Joe, again, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being our first guest speaker for 2021. I'm looking forward to doing more sessions with you throughout the year.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Great. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you all on our next one. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Care.